In this lecture, we will see what is an instance, what is AWS EC2 service, and different type of EC2 instance. Now, instance and also instant pricing model, and we will take a look at a use case which would be followed by demo that walk you through all the stuff that we have talked about. So it is a fairly good content and a lot of stuff to study today. So as let us just quick move further and take a look at these things one by one. So first and foremost, guy, we would be talking about an instance. When you talk about an instance, we have this definition that let's try and understand what does this definition has to say first, and then probably I would throw in some more light on that. So as far this definition goes, it's an instance is nothing but a virtual server for running application on Amazon EC2. It can also be understood like a tiny part of a larger computer, a tiny part which has its own hardware, network connection, operating system, etc. But it is actually virtual in nature. So there are a lot of word here and a lot of stuff has been said. Let me try and simplify this particular definition so that when I say virtual server running on your application, not on your application, virtual server that basically host our application in is what I should say. So that so what do I mean by this? What do I mean that virtual instance, a virtual presence of a particular device? Well, when we talk about software development or application development, what we do is we are supposed to build an application and run those on server, right? But at the time there are a lot of constraints like the space that we use, the resource that we want to use. Say for example, certain application run on Windows, certain on Mac OS, certain on Linux. So in that case I cannot go ahead and have different system and different operating system on them, then run my application on top of that, right? Because it is time consuming, exhaust us, consume a lot of money that we have to invest on it. So what is the solution for that? What if I could have a single device and on top of which I could create virtual compartment in which I could store my data differently, store my application, run my application differently? Wouldn't that be nice? Well, when we talk about an instance, that is what it exactly does. We can think of it as a tiny part of computer. Well, that is what it is time to symbolize. I mean, we have a system on top of which we can run different application, and now it work is if we are running an application A in part A and running an application B in part B of our server, these applications have feeling that they are running individually on that system, and there is no other system running on top of it. So this is what virtualization is. It creates a virtual environment for our application to run, and one such instance of this virtual environment is called as an instance. So when we talk about virtualization, it is not something that is very complicated, as we can see in the first image. We can see a man surrounded by various virtual image, something that same type of movie that yes, Iron Man movie. When we talk about virtualization, it is very simple. It can be a simple computer which is shared by different people, and those people are working quite independently on that server. That is what virtualization is. That is what an instance in this image. The second image, each image, all of the individual would be using a different instance. So this is what an instance is. When we talk about virtualization, so guys, let me move further and take a look at some other pointers. Now we understood what an instance, what virtualization is to some extent, at least guys. As far as this session goes, I believe this information is enough. If you wish to know more about virtualization, you can visit YouTube, any YouTube channel, and take a look at VMware tutorial. It talk about this particular topic in more detail. Now, what an EC2? So let us move further and try to understand EC2. Yeah, EC2 is an Amazon Web Service compute service. It stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. Now, what do I mean this? When we say an Elastic Compute Cloud, that means basically it is a service with let us actually go ahead and carry out computation practices. And when I say elastic, it means that it is fairly resizable and fairly reusable. Once we get into the demo part, probably we would get better picture. What do I mean by elasticity? Because it is highly flexible, highly scalable, it is very cost efficient, and it is serve a lot of purpose. Now these are some of the features that I just mentioned, right? Let me throw some more light on these pointer as well. What do I mean by scalable? Now when we talk about a cloud platform, and cloud platform, one of its best feature is it gives us high amount of scalability. That means our application can scale up, down, depending upon the data that we want to use on top of it. So if the traffic increases more, we need more performance, so our application should be able to scale to those needs, right? So so that is what cloud computing provide us with an that is what an EC2 also provide us with. When I say an instance, basically what we are doing is we are launching a virtual machine. It is called an instance in terms of AWS. So this virtual machine should be scalable. That means it should scale up and scale down, both in terms of memory, storage, and even in terms of computation that it is providing. So when we talk about EC2, it is highly scalable. Once we get into the demo part, we will see this how it being scalable and it being cost efficient, make it highly flexible. So that is the third point. Let us try to understand the second point as well. What make easy to cost efficient. Make EC2 cost efficient. When we talk about cost optimization, what EC2 does is it let us scale up and down. I just mentioned that, right? So instead of buying number of instances or instead of buying number of services, we can actually go ahead and scale this instance up and down with minimal cost charge. So we are saving money, because apart from that there are bustable instance, there are various pricing model that EC2 boasts of using. We can actually save a lot of money as we move further. We have we had we would be talking about those model as well. So meanwhile, just wait with me. So EC2, well, it is a service which is computation service, and it take care of following pointer. I mean, it is easily resizable, cost efficient, highly scalable, and these features make it highly flexible as well. Okay, now guys, let us move further and take a look at some other pointer as well. So what are the type of instance? Now when we talk about EC2, it is one of the oldest AWS service. So if we talk about the type of instance that are there in the market, well, there are quite few type of instance that we can deal with, and these are some of the popular one. Once I move into the demo part, I would maybe talk about other instance, but to keep it simple, basically these instance, they have different families. I mean, we have the, well, basically these series consist of different kind of instance that serve different purpose. To simplify this process, what AWS has done is it has gone ahead and characterized these instances into following type. The first one is general purpose instance. Now it is basically suited for application that require a balanced performance and cost. That means place where you require quick response, but it is still cost efficient. I mean, say for example, the example show here email response system. Now when we require a quick response, and there will be n number of response or n number of email that would pop in, but we don't want to pay a lot of money for this kind of service. So in this case we need cost optimization as well, and we need quick response as well. So this is where our general purpose instance come into the picture. Next on this list is compute instance. Now compute instance, what a compute instance, these are for application that require a lot of processing. Now when we say computation, they have better computation power. That means if there is a lot of data that need quicker computation power, we can use these kind of instance. What is an example? We have our analyzing stream data. Now if we know what stream data is, it is the data that continuously flow in and flow out. That means we are streaming the data. Say for example, this session, it is being streamed, right? I mean the information or whatever is happening, there is it is going. So in order to process this kind of data, we need system that give us good computational power. which are very active and very good in nature. So when we talk about compute instance, these they provide us with these kind of service, and that is why if we are dealing with stream data, if we wish to analyze this kind of data, definitely go for compute instance. Now thereafter we have memory instance. So no, next in memory instance. Now what are these instances? For now, these are the instances that are required for application that require more memory, or in better term more RAM, right? Random access memory. So these are for application that require good computation power, like the previous one. But when we talk about RAM, it is something that reside in our local system, right? So we need instance which have good memory capacity. And what kind of application itself? Well, we can think of application that need multitasking, multiprocessing. Say for example, I need a single system that does fetching data from me as well, process it for me as well, dashboard it for me and well, and when and then give it to end customer as well. So these kind of application required memory instance. Thereafter in this list we have storage instance. We have the storage instance. As the name suggests, these application are, or these instance are for application that required you to store huge amount of data. Say for example, we have larger size application like big data application, where the amount of data is used huge number. So we require more storage flexibility. In that case, we can option for instance that are especially optimized for storage kind of requirement. Next in this list is GPU instance. If you know that GPU is, we would understand that it is served. That means if we are interested in graphical kind of work, when we have basically a heavy graphical rendering, in that case we can option for GPU kind of instance, which basically help us serve purpose like 3D modeling and stuff like that. So guys, this was about different kind of instance. Now let us try and understand what are the different instance pricing model that are out there. So guys, when you talk about pricing, EC2 or AWS in general, it ensure that can serve a lot of money. But normally what people do is they are the and that if we just go ahead and take in cloud, probably we would go ahead and save a lot of money. Yes, cloud does support application in such a way that we would spend very less amount. It involves a lot of planning, guy, but so each time we use a particular service, it is very important to understand how does that particular service work. And if we are actually plan in the service in that manner, we would actually end up saving a lot of money. So let us try and understand how the pricing model work. When we talk about it, see two in particular. So these are some of the pricing model that EC2 has offered to us. We have our on-demand, dedicated, on-spot and reserved instance. Now let me try and simplify what these instances are. And what do I mean by these? Now when we say on demand instance, as the name suggests, it is an instance that we demand and we get. Now these instances are made available to us for limited time frame. Say for example, I need a particular instance for hourly basis, so I would be wanting to use that instance for only that time span. So to use that instance for that particular duration, what I do is I actually go ahead and demand this instance. So AWS would give me that instance, but it would work for an hour only. So my price that for instance would be fixed on that manner. I mean, the fact that I would be using it for one instance of or for an hourly hour basically, so I would be charged only for that 1 hour, and once that hour is completed, the instant it get terminated on its own. It's similar to renting a flat for 1 month. Suppose if I move to a new city and I'm looking something temporary, say for example I am looking for a hostel or paying guest kind of living system, right? So in that case, what I would do, I would upfront go and tell the owner that I would be staying here for a month, and you can charge me for month only. If it is 1000 or 500 more than normal charge, it is fine. But once the month is over, I would like to leave, right? So that kind of service or that kind of instance demand is called as on demand instance, basically dedicated guy. Now what is it, the dedicated? Actually these instances are kind of given to a particular organization so that their security is defined better than other. Say for example, if I need to protect my data, I need my data to be privatized. Now understand this thing, AWS or other cloud platform are highly secure, or data is secure no matter whether they are on dedicated instance or not. But what happen is, we normally share our space with someone else. The data remains private, but there are some company that deal with highly confidential data, and in that case they want that extra insurance of security. So I'm using a space which is not shared by anyone. So in that case, you have dedicated instance which basically serve your need like security and basically an isolation from other vendor as well. So that in what dedicated instance do, they are costlier. That's the main reason they are coster. We have to pay more for that type of instance, but yes, they give us that isolation. They are after on spot. Now guys, when I say an on spot instance, it is like bidding. Say for example, I am buying a particular share, so I have particular budget, right? So I might have a budget of rupees 300. So what I do is I go ahead and buy the chair, and I set in a cap as an okay to the max. I can bid for 300 rupees for this share. So if the price goes above 300 rupees, I am not taking that's here, right? So if there is a particular instance, we can bid for that instance as on okay, this is the maximum price that I pay for this instance. So if the instance is available at that price, it is given to us, and if after particular duration the price of instance change, so it is available to us for a limited period of time. So if we are dealing with data that is volatile, and we want to work on the data in real time, so we can option for this instance, because after a while the price of instance might change and this instance might be terminated, and we might not be able to use it for a longer while. But the thing is, it does is it is available to us at a cheaper price and at the price bit that we put on it. So what is, so that why it is more affordable, but again it is good for volatile data only. Finally, we have the reserved stand. It is like renting an apartment on a lease for a longer period. I mean, suppose if I am getting a flat on agreement, well, basic where I sign an agreement for a year or 11 months. That means I am reserving this flat for one complete year, right? So nobody else in they can comment that you have to vacant this apartment, a flat, right? So that is one benefit. And the other thing is you have a fixed rate of rent. So if we are taking something or for a longer duration, there is a chance that we might end up paying lesser money for that as well. Now what happened there is, when we talk about it from the instance perspective, suppose we know that we would be needing this much configuration for this duration, we can rent that particular instance for that duration, and probably we end up saving a lot money. Now when we talk about AWS, it gives us flexibility where we can actually go ahead and upscale, downscale our instance to our need. We can kind of terminate stuff and move to the next step. But if we are certain amount certain thing as an okay, I have to use this number of matter, when what happened for a longer duration, in that case we can option kind of instance, reserve kind of instance, and those are more affordable to us. So guys, these are different type of instance based on the pricing that is there. Now we have talked about general clusterization of instance, like the general purpose GPU that was based on their functioning, right? Then we learned about the pricing model as well. Now there is one more type that we need to understand, or one more classification that we need to understand actually. Let us try and take a look at those as well. So we are classifying instance based on the general functioning, right? Now what do I mean by this? Well, these are the type. Let us take a look at those one by one first. So when I say burstable instance, we have talked about general purpose instance, right? So what happened in there is a category of general but was but it was instance with start with a base utilization power available to us. That means if we want to utilize our CPU for a certain amount, bustable instances are good here. Let me try through some more light edge in what I am talking about. Exactly. Suppose I need a CPU utilization of 20%, and I know that so I can go for bustable instance. What they do is they start with the functioning of 20%, but in case if I am dealing with data that is not constant, that might change with time. Say for example, if my backside experience more traffic, so I might need more performance, right? So in that case, what bustable instance do is they burst out from current performance to 100% CPU utilization, so that we can get more performance. Now what happened there is we can charge a particular amount for these instance, and we have certain credit for which we can use the burst people performance, and if we do not use the bustable performance, those credit can be used later as well. So we are getting optimized performance as well, and we are saving more money as well in case if these are in urgent traffic that we are experience. We have something called as EBS optimized. Now when we talk about EBS optimized, now these are the application where basically we are processing data at higher speed. Say for example, there is some application where the data is flowing in continuously, so I need quick response, right? So EBS backup or EBS optimized instance, what they do is they give us high input output processing, and that is why these are good instance to art for this situation. Cluster networking, basically they form cluster networking, according to name suggest that is they form cluster instance. Now a particular cluster, what it does is it serve one kind of purpose. Say for example, in my application what I want, I have different section, and in different section my first section required to be processing data at faster rate, the other one I want to be storage optimized, so I can define different cluster of instance that serve different purpose here, and then I have at last dedicated one. We have already talked about dedicated one. It is more related to the data security part. So guys, these are the different type of instance. I know I have talked about a lot of stuff. When we get into the demo part, probably this would be easy up a little more for you people. I believe people are with me for entire session. Guys, I am giving link of EC2 lab. On that video I describe how EC2 is work, how we can add more instance, how we can terminate instance as on demand, how instance will increase, etc. Or that is and you can go for free trial, as we discussed in our previous video about free tier. You can register there. Probably they can deduct 1 or 2 rupees from your debit card or credit card, but these 2 rupees or maybe less than 2 rupees will be refunded after 2 working day. And I discussed that 750 hour free EC2 instance Amazon provided for learning purpose. And more thing provided the free of cost. And for what they are deducting 2 rupees, they are only for that person that no one is playing with Amazon or wasting their resources. Only for the serious guy they are providing, or they don't want to waste their resources. Actually they provide everything free, or they provide whatever the free thing they think that a serious person can utilize this thing. Only for that reason they deduct 2 rupees, and after 2 working days they refunded you. Okay, thank you. This is the EC2